Yeah, I've been photographing bands, musicians for the last 15 years. It's part of doing portraits. I portray a lot of different people, but I prefer to photograph musicians. So I had like an artistic background in literature and visual arts, and in the music world, I found that I got the most creative freedom. So that's why I chose to photograph musicians, along with being a very big, passionate fan of music myself. I got involved with the music industry from working with a friend, actually, in the beginning. My brother had a friend in high school and he became a rock star. I became a photographer. We met and we started doing photos together. So it was very natural and organic the way it evolved. Then from him I started doing all the other Danish rock bands, and then from the Danish rock bands I started to doing the English rock bands, and then I started to work all over the world. For me it's a natural process. After doing a lot of jobs, it's very interesting to go very deep into your archives, see what you've got, find all the pictures that somehow bear significance for you, but you had no idea but that they were even there. And then, so it's a huge investigation into really what you've been doing, and then it's kind of like putting a milestone for me. You learn a lot about your own work actually from researching into it. I think my own way of photographing and personality always influence how the person reacts. But I did another project in India where I photographed meditating yogis, and actually the way I photographed them was to meditate with them and to just be silent for a little while, and then I took one picture and we were finished. And I've taken that approach to really everybody I photograph. So whether it's a yogi, if it's my own family, or if it's a rock star, it doesn't make a big difference. It's just a way of being together. So I think that's why there's not so many sunglasses and cigarettes in my pictures. I have there's a filmmaker that I'm very inspired by called Wong Kar-wai from Hong Kong. Especially a movie called In the Mood for Love that I love. I love it from the moods and the aesthetic, and there's also some painters. I'm very inspired by landscape and big skies, and that kind of leads me back to sort of old German romantic painting. So I'm mainly looking at paintings and movies. I'm not looking at magazines and stuff like that. When I get a new job, I try to find a location that reflects the band. I normally have some time beforehand to listen to the music if I don't know it already. In some cases you don't get to choose, because they might be doing press in a hotel or and the city you don't get to choose. So you have to, sometimes you just have to meet at a hotel, but then you check out if there's a cool roof or if there's a nice fire escape or nice rooms, whatever. In other cases you get to choose the exact location. In the case of White Stripes that we were just standing in front of, I spent a whole day in Nashville driving around to 8 different diners with a very happy taxi driver. I think we were driving for 8 hours in all the small towns around Nashville to find the diner that kind of reflected that band. So it's a very conscious effort, I think, to find a location that works. And someone like Mick Hucknall from Simply Red was very, very tricky. Even though I had 8 days with him in Cuba, it was he made my work very difficult. I think mainly he was quite standing in his own way. I mean, I think he was quite he didn't really want to be photographed. So for 8 days we had to keep postponing the photo shoot to the next day, and then finally in the end we got a little shoot out of it. But the most rock band that I've ever photographed is definitely Oasis. They live up to all the expectations, good and bad, that I was expecting from them. Also all the cliches as well. Even though we were sitting in a bar for 3 nights in Buenos Aires and we had hours and hours together, once we went into photography mode, they just treated me like they thought photographers should be treated, even though we had just had lots of time together. Suddenly they were like, after 5 minutes, they were just like, okay, we're not gonna give you one more second. I photographed Björk in London. I did it it was actually for a cover for Q magazine in England. I had an hour with her, and actually we hardly spoke a word. We were just in this kind of creative little bubble together, where I had set up 3 different places I wanted to photograph her. I gave her, well, I had set up lighting it was in the middle of the afternoon, but I wanted to create a more poetic and a little more magic world, just to also describe something about her. And she was wonderful, and quite strange, weird as well. So, I mean, I was basically just. It was a very crazy hour for me, because it was just weird to have somebody who would just do things. Like, she was doing a lot of different, very playful things, and I was just going yes inside. I was very happy. Yeah. Amy Winehouse is quite easy to photograph in the sense that she gives you a lot. I mean, she was like an open book. So I photographed her right at the peak of her career, where she just started winning Grammys and prizes all over the world. And at the same time, she was starting personally to go down. I got the last 2 photo shoots with her of anybody in the world. After that, it's just been paparazzi following her. So I had a photo shoot in Dublin and one in London, and it was quite amazing actually, but also a little bit sad, because she was really, emotionally, she was like a roller coaster. So hard to watch, but for a photographer it was very interesting. So if I were to choose 3 different bands that would describe Closer, I would choose 3 it's 3 of the bands that I've worked with a lot, and also it's the kind of sound to me that describes my pictures. That would be, number 1 would be the Ravenettes. It's Danish, it's where I'm from. I photographed them from the very start, even before they were out as a band. So for 15 years, I've photographed the lead singer. So after that, I would say Franz Ferdinand. It's somebody I've been photographing for years as well, and I love their music, and I particularly love them. They're just a wonderful band. Number 3 would be Jack White in one of his many incarnations. So I mean, it could either be the Dead Weather or the White Stripes. I think those 2 bands are some of the bands that I'm very impressed with, and that I've been lucky to work with him on all of his different projects.